That is true. We become smart because we have the smartphone. Can be tracked anytime, anywhere. Okay, by the time I'm done, half of you are going to hate me. Other half will not talk to me. But it's not my words. By the way, you can study all kinds of studies. The studies are designed, the result of the studies depend on the one who is putting the study together. So when Eli Lilly wants to prove that one of the drugs is very, very good, they will choose the population they want. Okay, it's front-loaded. They call New England Journal of Medicine the Bible of medicine. But in the editorial board, you might come up with the best article in the world. But this board is controlled by pharmaceutical companies. You think there is justice in this country and not in Malaysia or in the Philippines or wherever? I do not know. But anyways, Kevin Carter took this picture. This was the famine in Sudan. There was so much food coming into the country, but it was not going to the people. Kevin Carter was a photographer. There were photographers from all over the world taking pictures. They were not to help any kid. This kid was only half a mile from a feeding center. Vulture is waiting for him to drop dead. And the Lord says, I was hungry, and you didn't feed me. He killed himself 6 months after he took this picture. It won the Pulitzer Prize. Oh well. Most of the diseases can be categorized or grouped into two categories: communicable and lifestyle medicine. Yes, lifestyle diseases. I don't want to be on your way. 19th century gave birth to the germ theory, understanding that pathogens, bacteria, fungi, viruses, cause the communicable diseases, right? All right, cause the infectious diseases. Vaccines have been developed against all of these, okay? In the early 19th century, 4 of the top 10 diseases in the USA were infectious in origin. 4 of the top 10. All right, this is this country here. Guess what was the number 1 cause of death? This is in this country. Pneumonia and the flu. Okay, 1900s, early 1900s. Tuberculosis. Annie Smith, I think, died at 28, consumption, that's what they call it at that time. All right, gastrointestinal infections. Annie Smith was the sister of Ulrich Smith, one of the church's pioneers. Diphtheria was number 10. This is nearly 100 years ago. What has happened? The 20th century gave birth to non-communicable diseases. These are like dreaded diseases. Infectious diseases were replaced by inflammatory disease as the big killer. And the Lord says, I'm going ahead of myself. And when He created Adam and Eve, He says, I give you cheese. Oh, no, He says, I give you fruits, nuts, and grains to eat. Genesis 1:29. That's what He said. He didn't give chicken to eat. He did not give cheese to eat. He did not know. That's what the food was. And then chapter 1 or chapter 2, sin came. After that came vegetables to eat. Okay? Check it out. It's there. And what are the lifestyle inflammatory diseases afflicting the Americans today? 2 out of every 4 caskets in this country has someone who died of cardiovascular disease. 45%. 45%. By the way, I've been pretty much vegan all my life. Adventist lifestyle medicine doctor says you need to start eating some fish, and I try salmon, I take a bite. But anyways, cardiovascular disease, the other 25%, 1 out of every 4 caskets in this country has someone who died of cancer. Preventable, yes. By the way, you can be a vegan, you still have 3 to 4% chance of dying of a heart attack. 3 to 4% chance, even if you are a vegan, you have a chance of dying of a heart attack. Okay? So, what is the first sign of heart attack for 50% of people? What is the first sign? Okay, yes, I heard that. What is the first sign of 50% of people dying of a heart attack? I worked in the ER 30 years. Sudden death. 50% of people do not make it to the ER. Sudden death. First sign, someone could be, cholesterol is fine, blood pressure fine, everything fine, die of a heart attack. 50% of people. Cancer, 1 out of every 4 caskets has someone who died of cancer. Adult also diabetes. Very high percentage of people in this country are diabetics. It is a lifestyle disease, folk. Diabetes type 2. Diabetes type 1 is also caused by, most of the times, by cow's milk. You're going to say you're crazy, but it's true. Cow's milk is for the cows. Cow's milk is for the cows. Human milk, you mothers, you notice that human milk and cow's milk look different, right? Human milk is watery, right? Cow's milk is thick. What makes the thickness in the cow's milk? Mother's milk has more fat than the cow's milk. But it's good fat. 70% of, our brain is made of fat. Okay? So, you see, when the cow grows up, it does not solve calculus. Human body beings do. You see? So we need mother's milk to grow on. The little baby's head is double the size by the time the baby is 1 year old. You see, so the brain grows. Cow is not interested in calculus. In this country, the hospitals are always nice looking, right? Beautiful looking hospitals. Why? Who gives them the money, yeah? You see, if we were not eating meat and cheese, the hospitals would have hardest time financing themselves. It's our choice that we make. Okay? But even then, I told you, 3 to 4% of people, total vegans, can still die of a heart attack. Cow's milk, we're going to touch it. I mean, that's 1 2-hour talk. But cow's milk has protein called casein. It's very compact, very, very compact. When cow also produces the enzyme that breaks down the casein. So it's good for the calf, okay? But by the time we are weaned from the mother's breast, we stop making the enzyme that breaks it down. And there are small nodules in the mother's breast that have a bacteria called Bacillus bifidus, that when the baby drinks the milk, the baby gets the bacteria that converts the enzyme into active form. Okay? So when someone stops drinking mother's milk, stops producing that enzyme, okay, and then we are on our own. That's why the mothers who give cow's milk to infants, in no time the infants become anemic. You know why? Because the protein casein is broken down into trypsin, pepsin, trypsin, and then broken down into smaller amino acids, then is absorbed. Okay, but the small intestine has the hardest time to absorb this larger protein, and the small intestine bleeds, and the kids, little babies, become anemic in no time. This is the fact. So what also happens is that some of the sequence of protein from the cow's milk is absorbed that way into the bloodstream. It's not supposed to be that way. And the little infant who is susceptible to type 1 diabetes, if that little infant is given this cow's milk and it absorbs it, it happens to be that the sequence of amino acid in the cow's milk, in the casein, is exactly the same as the sequence of amino acid in the islets of Langerhans cells in the pancreas that makes insulin. So the body recognizes this is a foreign protein that it has just been absorbed in the bloodstream, and it attacks this protein in the bloodstream with the antibody, and becomes a complex. The same antigen, the antibody, goes and hits the pancreas and destroys the pancreas. One Saturday evening, I was working in a small hospital. Both the parents, master's degree holder, brought in this infant. I took one look and my heart sank. I asked the girls to call the bird helicopter. We were in a rural hospital. This baby was ketogenic. It was ketotic. Ketoacidosis, would have died on my hand in no time. So I think we accessed the central, going to the bone, because you cannot find a blood vessel in him. And we started to pour in fluid, got the bird, flew him out of there. Parents had no idea that they gave their child type 1 diabetes. 10% of all diabetics in this country are type 1 diabetics. This can be prevented. It's happening all over the world. We think we're smart people, huh? But the Lord says, I give you fruits, nuts, grains, and vegetables to eat. Non-infectious airway diseases like emphysema, suicide, number 6 killer. No, 5th killer. Alzheimer's, 6th killer. Alzheimer in no time has become the 3rd most common killer in this country. I don't have the time, folk. I could give you midnight, but Alois Alzheimer, 1906, barely 100 some years ago, had this patient. She was about 56 years old. She was just different. She says, what's going on with this patient? You see, she was unruly, she forgot things, and she was hyper. And in 6 months, the patient died. Alzheimer's was also a pathologist. He opened the brain, studied it in a microscope, and Alzheimer's disease was born. Okay, we can go on it later on sometimes if indeed you folk want. Today, Alzheimer's is the third most common cause of death in this country. In little more than 100 years, it's being seen all over the world. What has changed, folk? When your grandma decided we're going to have chicken for dinner, she asked your mom, go find a chicken. Where did she go? Did she go to Walmart? No. She went in the backyard, she got her exercise getting the chicken, right? Got the chicken. Came back, slaughtered the chicken, ate it. Well, it used to take from egg to hatching to becoming the chicken ready to be eaten 96 days. How long does it take now? 45 days. What do you think is the difference? What has taken place? All the steroids, all the hormones it's getting, the antibiotics it's getting. Why aren't the antibiotics working anymore? In UK, in 1 year, they produce 19,000 tons of antibiotics, mostly for animal husbandry. We do it perhaps much more. So when you eat the chicken, when you eat the beef or whatever, we're getting antibiotics in there, folk. And so the body's bacteria get used to it. So where do I even start? Our gut is our second brain. The large intestine is our second brain, really. 90%, we have 70 trillion cells in our body. For one cell in our body, there are nine more cells in the gut. The gut has 70 times 9 trillion cells in the body, in the gut alone, more than us. So when we take antibiotic, we kill the bacteria, right? But the good bacteria get killed as well. Serotonin, 90% of serotonin that works on the brain is made in the gut. So what are we doing to ourselves? All right. The big question is not what we are eating, but what is eating us. Food that we eat can be categorized into pro-inflammatory, neutral, and inflammatory, anti-inflammatory. What we should be eating really is anti-inflammatory food. What the Lord says, for I give you fruits, nuts, and grains to eat. All of these are anti-inflammatory. So, but don't take all the nuts and eat it every day. Nuts have 80% fat. So be very careful. Handful, whatever fits on your palm, multiple kinds of nuts, that's what you eat per day. That's enough. That's enough that we need, okay? Chestnut has the lowest fat in it, only 5%. So, trans fats, look at this. You know what trans fat is? Trans fat is human beings have played with the structure of the fat that the Lord has given and changed it from all the good fats that we need are all cis. Everything is cis, the ones who have had chemistry, but they turn into trans fat because the shelf life is longer. Okay? In the late 70s, the US government says, well, you know, this butter is destroying us. We should not be eating so much of butter, cardiovascular disease. Monsanto, I think, whoever says, all right, we're going to change things, came up with margarine. Among women, especially, the cardiovascular disease started to go down, but breast cancer shot up to no end. Why? Margarine. You think they're interested in your health or in your pocketbook, folk? The decision we make, okay? So, saturated fat and partially hydrogenated fat, bad, promote inflammation and raise the total blood cholesterol level and LDL cholesterol. There are many other causes of inflammation: air pollution, smoking, UV radiation. All right. High intakes of red and processed meats, sweets, desserts, refined grains increase blood markers of inflammation. Refined bread, for example. Whiter the bread, quicker one is dead, which is true. You know, I mean, we used to make bread, right? You make the bread, or you grind your own wheat, you make the bread, and you put it outside, okay, on the shelf. Or else take a piece, throw it in the corner, and you take the white bread and throw a piece of that in the corner. Which ones do you think the rats are going to eat first? Well, which one will also have life growing, fungus growing? The white one or the whole wheat bread? You can try it yourself. Whole wheat, because it has life in it. So the fungus grows in there. The white bread shrivels up, dries up. Okay? Fungus is not going to grow there. Try it if you want to. You can experiment. That's why when you go to buy Ezekiel bread, by the way, it's made by the Adventists, okay, lay people in California, but it's all over the country. You buy it frozen. Why? Because the shelf life is short. That's why they created white bread, because it has longer shelf life. Very simple. Make your own bread. Grind your own wheat. We have one, I think I have $200 or something for the meal. You grind, make your own bread, enjoy it. Whereas high intake of fruits, vegetables, legumes, fish, poultry, whole grains decrease blood markers of inflammation. If you're going to eat chicken, grow your own. Food low in calories and saturated fat and high in plant sterols, viscous fibers, soy protein, and nuts also decrease inflammation. This is Harvard nurse study. That's why the poultry and fish is there. But I'm sorry. They studied, I think, about 8,300 nurses over many years of time. So this is the result. Like this, huh? So you drive up and it says, give me French fries. Do you want the small one or the larger one? The small one is super sized. The small one costs you lesser, but the larger one gives you more carcinogen. So you choose. You pay more money, you get. Why? Oil. Where is the best oil found, folk? Where is the best oil found? Where? Come on, guys. You flunked grammar or what? Where is the best oil found? Olive oil is already the oil. Where is the best oil found? In Mediterranean. Best oil is found in the olive, not in the olive oil. Best oil is found in the walnut. Best oil is found in soya, not in soy milk. Why? But you see, we have to have reasons for our faith. To me, my faith is also confirmed when I consider simple thing like oil. When the oil is in the grain also, right? In the wheat, there's a germ and there's a tiny bit of oil in there. That oil is surrounded by antioxidants. Vitamin E, very strong antioxidant. Vitamin A, very strong antioxidant. So the Creator knew what He was doing, folk. But we smart people, we squeeze it out, get the oil out. Then we heat up the oil, and it becomes free radical. That's the cause of inflammation, of cancer, and all. So the choice is ours. So that's why it says, eat the nut. Don't have to have it oil made out of that. Free radical. What happens when we heat up oil, for example? You see, the ones who took chemistry, there are, I'm not sure this one has a pointer. Does it? Oh, right there. All right, see these electrons in the outer core are all paired, but this one is not. You're heating this up, you lose a radical and it becomes, lose an electron and it becomes free radical. Okay, that's the basis of inflammation. All right. What is the best oil? We have already done that. What is the best fat found? Right there. We cannot improve on the Creator. The best fat is found in grains, fruits, nuts. They're stable because of the presence of antioxidants A, C, and E. All right, wheat. We buy white wheat, white bread. But look, you take the whole wheat, there's 3% germ layer, okay, it has 3% of calories. Vitamin V, vitamin E, minerals are all in here. What do? We get that out. They have these huge rollers that roll the wheat, individual wheats down, shapes off the bran, shapes off the bran, the fiber, minerals, and we give it to the hogs. And then we just take the endosperm here, 83%, and that's white bread. What happens to the germ? Get this out, and we make creams for the ladies' faces. Needs to be in our stomach. Okay? All right, so make your own, grind your own wheat, make your own bread, and invite me. I'm going to come and eat, and that's the charge I make for this talk. All right, true or false? There is cholesterol in plant food. In seeds, nuts, and grains. True or false? No, I don't want to, please. It is false. There is no. So you don't have to worry about cholesterol. Okay. However, coconut, for example, is very high saturated fat. It's wise not to use it all the time. So this should make our mouths water. These are very strong antioxidants. Grapes. Don't drink grape juice. Go ahead and drink grapes. Okay. Carrots, squash. Okay. Tomatoes, lycopene. Beta carotene, so important, folk, that we eat the carrots. In fact, you have a choice between eating the carrot and having a catheter that goes into your coronary arteries. The choice is ours. So, and I in my jacket. I don't have that. I have an angio cath in there. I can always carry it in my jacket, but I guess it's in the car. My daughter came back. So, anyways, and I show it to folk. You have a choice between carrot and the catheter. It's your choice. All right. Yes, there is truth in the old saying, eat an apple every day, keep the doctors away. Why? Apple, folk, these, if you remember anything this afternoon, 3 things that you should make sure that you have some of it at least 2-3 times a week, if not more. Okay, I try to eat an apple every day. Apple, carrots, and cantaloupes have more food value, more antioxidants, more different kinds of vitamins than any other fruits. So just 3 this, remember, carrots, apple, and cantaloupes, okay? Just try that. There was cantaloupe during lunch. So more vitamins and minerals than most other fruits and vegetables. So these antioxidants that the fruits and nuts are very high on, they have extra electrons in their outer shell. So when we consume or we come across a free radical, because we are breathing in stuff that creates the free radicals, okay, the pollution, these antioxidants gladly share electrons for the free radical to be becoming normal. It's no more free radical, it's a stable chemical. If your mouth is watering, what gives the meat its taste? Fat and blood. Fat and blood. Al-Quran, we talked about it this morning, talks about Noah's warning, the flood, Surah 57, Surah 11, and Surah 23. Okay, this is all from the Quran. Warning. Warn your people, this is talking to Noah, Prophet Noah, before there comes upon them a grievous penalty. Quoting straight the Quran. Okay. That's the text there. This shall be a perpetual statute throughout your generations in all your dwellings. You shall eat neither fat nor blood. This is straight from the Razarat to Hazarat Musa. This is again Quran. Okay, Leviticus, that's how they call Moses, Prophet Moses, Leviticus 3:17. You see how easy for me to speak to the Muslims? You see, I asked them, is it okay to quote the Bible? They say, yeah, go ahead and quote. So I keep on quoting. All right. Makes sense, right? We are in business, in medicine, because of what people eat. All right. Inside the cell, glucose, by the way, sugar goes in, because insulin opens the door and the sugar goes in. But with some people, they have more intramyocellular lipid. This is a fancy way. We're doctors, we're smart people. You folk are not. You see, so we use big words. I'm just kidding. We use big words. This is really fat within the cell. But they have to make it so fancy. Intramyocellular, okay, lipid. So, some people are born with too much fat within the cell, individual cell, than others. And these are the folk, if they're not careful, when they get older, they're very easy to get type 2 diabetes. Very, very easy. So what does the insulin do? It is really the key that opens the lock, opens the door, okay, for the insulin to go in and work. All right? Like a key sliding in the door. Okay. However, about 70% of us in this country are plugged up keyholes with chewing gum, as it were too much fat from animal source and even plant oil or nut oil. Too much oil. How much oil do we need per day? 2 tablespoonfuls. What are the essential oils? Linoleic, alpha-linolenic, and linoleic. There are only 2 kinds. Okay? So we get that from the nuts we eat. Okay? 45% of calories of average American diet is from fat. 45%. You're a type 2 diabetic here. You have been a type 2 diabetic for years. You cut down your oil intake to 13% of your daily requirement. Within weeks, you are going to be insulin-free or oral hypoglycemic. Try it. Try it. Unless you have destroyed the beta cells of islets of Langerhans over these years, and they have reverted to alpha cells, but given time also. These are all out of studies, by the way. They can start producing. So try it, but if you do it, make it sure you're under constant supervision of your physician. How is the baby sleeping? Baby just had mother's milk, right? Baby is so happy. Hey, I'm sleeping. Mom is also sleeping. All right. What makes people fall asleep after they eat or drink milk? There are two morphine-like substances in the milk, okay? Even mother's milk, cow's milk, you name it, any milk. Casomorphin and morphoseptin. These two morphine-like substances in the cow's milk. So, what is the little one eating? Pizza. Pizza is made of vegetables. Oh no, it's made of cheese. So cheese, she's happy. Start to fall asleep. Casomorphin, morphoseptin is at work. You see? These are working now. So the baby falls asleep. She wakes up, takes another bite. Per capita consumption of cheese in this country. Look at this. In 1970, how about now, 2010? Look at that. See how much more we are eating? In those days, when your grandma or your great-grandma was milking the cows, how much milk did she get per day? 4 liters? 4 liters? Today, the champion cow gives 120 liters of milk. They have to wear special bras to hold the udder in place. Check it out. So what is in there? All kinds of hormones in there, antibiotics in there. So what kind of choice do we make in our lives? New cases of diagnosed diabetes among US adults. You see that? See that? You can almost, put this curve on this curve. You see what's happening. Okay? You think there is a cause? An average American consumes more than 550 pounds of dairy products annually, which is 40% of the bulk food eaten. Pretty sobering, huh? You guys still want me to continue, or shall I sit down? Still continue? You don't hate me by now? Look at this crazy woman, what she said 150 years ago. Crazy in the eyes of many dear Adventists, even some Adventist pastors. Cheese should never be introduced into a human stomach. We don't like to read this, do we? We don't. But did she make sense? Come on, I could speak for whatever time, on this alone, on what happens. Can type 2 diabetes be reversed with nutrition? Yes. Yes, it can, folk. 2 tablespoons of oil per day, no more. Try it for a few weeks. All right? Today in the US, lifestyle diseases have replaced the communicable diseases, okay? It's spreading like wildfire all over the world. Why do you think even very educated Muslims and Hindus, I could stand up and speak, cardiologists, and speak to them? Because we have something no one else has. That's why I go. That's why I go and speak with them, share the gospel through our health message. India is replacing China as the diabetes capital of the world. You see? But this, I'm going ahead of myself. This international tragedy is a golden opportunity for us Seventh-day Adventists to reach out to this folk. That's why I cannot stay quiet. Yeah, being a vegan, you could still die of a heart attack, 3 to 4% of people dying of heart attacks are vegans. But should we stop? No. Okay, I've already talked about that. The national and international tragedy is a golden opportunity for us. Just a quick look at blood vessels. This is an artery, this is vein, capillaries, this is what the oxygen exchange takes place. Okay, the blood vessel that suffers the most, the blood vessels that suffer and have atherosclerosis is not the vein really, it's the arteries, but they do vein grafts, but they also plug up given time, unless we change our eating habits. The innermost layer, there's only one cell layer, the endothelium. Endothelial cells are one cell layers. Okay? This is the most important thing to remember now. When we eat pro-inflammatory food, we separate the endothelial cells from one another. There's a gap that happens, and that causes the leakage. You might have heard of gut leaking syndrome. That's the problem, folk. The endothelial cell, the innermost cell separates, the inflammatory cells go in and cause havoc. That's what's happening. We might be young people, but we are having coronary problems, the blood vessel problems, not only in the heart, but all over the body. All over the body. I might be going ahead of myself a little bit. If you put all your blood vessels end to end, how far do you think it would reach? How far? All the blood vessels in the world, in your body. Let me tell you, 70,000 miles. We are fearfully and wonderfully made. These capillaries are so small. These capillaries are so small that they have red blood cell, which is about 6 micron. 6 micron means 1 micron is 1 millionth of a meter. So 6 micron, they can barely squeeze through one of those capillaries, barely. So that's what makes it 70,000 miles of blood vessels, and we have 70 trillion cells in our bodies. All right. So, look at this. Basement membrane, endothelial cells. So even these areas are damaged by what goes into our mouths. What goes into our mouths. Overall, we choose our health, not the doctor. Not the doctor. So, excess of LDL, okay, going in, causing inflammation, that's another talk. The red blood cells, the white blood cell goes in there in order to help with the inflammation, but it causes the problem. It becomes foam cell, and it becomes these plaques in there, okay? The more mature plaques, one could live with all their lives. But it is the small plaques, the pimples, those are the dangerous ones because they can fall off, break off, okay? And suddenly, their platelets in the blood clog together in no time and cause a heart attack or a stroke. Very simple. Okay, so you folk who are here, who are at least 30 years or older, or even a little younger, you need to take a baby aspirin every day. It saves lives. I could tell you story after story with people taking an aspirin and saving their lives. So one gentleman, this was in Ohio, he started to have this severe pain, and he says, I'm going to take 2 aspirins. Maybe it's going to help with menses. He did. That saved his life. Because the blood clot broke. So there's whatever, $2,000-$3,000 of medicines that we push in and breaks the clot. Don't need to go that route. Okay, can take a baby aspirin every day. All right. Again, we're fearfully and wonderfully made. Cheryl, you recognize this one, the Hindu. This is their national daily. It goes all over the country. Look at this. The data shows that overall cardiovascular disease, the top killer of Indians, accounting for 23%, that's about one out of 4, of all deaths in 2010 to 2013 compared to 20% 2004 to 2006 in about 7 years. It has jumped by 5% in India alone. Today you go to India, and I was there last year, twice I think. You can speed from one cheeseburger to another cheeseburger joint. Yes, it's unbelievable. It's even in the countryside, it's unbelievable. Hamburgers all over, pizzas all over. Like Roswell, so I was speaking at the Adventist High School in Salisbury Park. And the kids, I asked them, kids from grade 8, 6 through 12th, I spoke, 1 week, spoke to these kids. Most of them are Hindus and Muslims. Most of them, 3,500 or 4,500 students. Hey, how many have you been to cheeseburger? Oh, they're jumping up and down, Yes, we've been there this week. How about your parents? Yeah, our parents have been there. How about your grandparents? No. No, they didn't know what cheeseburger was. So how many of your parents are diabetics? These hands are going up. You see the correlation there? Okay? You see the correlation? So, in fact, I spoke to the teachers, and they were mostly Muslim and Hindu teachers. I spoke in the church. They came to the church from the school. I spoke to them when they were leaving. One of the church members heard one Hindu lady say, "I'm changing my kitchen today." So, my whole thing is if I can touch one life, even today, okay, just one life is worth all my effort. And I'm very serious about this. Just one life, folk. All right. We talked about 1 out of every 4 caskets, cancer, 1 out of every 2 caskets, cardiovascular disease. Roughly 2 out of every 4 caskets, okay, we've gone over this. Dr. Stamler, Northwestern University, Chicago, he did an experiment. You're going to love it. So this is a rhesus monkey. They eat meat, right? No, they're all vegans. They're all vegetarians. So this poor guy, okay, he gave it hospital food. That's hospital food, okay? And he says, if you want to produce coronary artery disease in the monkeys, all you have to do is to feed them average hospital diet. This is from Dr. Stamler, okay? And he's an epidemiologist, researcher. This poor guy, in 190 days of getting hospital food, he died of a heart attack. 190 days only. So the moral of the story is, don't be in the hospital for more than 190 days. That's the moral, right? Anyways, look at this, folks. The artery of a newborn. Squeaky clean. This is the real thing, by the way. This is real thing. The artery of a newborn. Nice and clean. Artery of a teenager. We think we own the world. Look at what's happening in here. There's already plaques forming all over. This is an average American teenager. By the time someone is 40 years old, this one probably died of a heart attack. I mean, there's the blood vessels that are going out of the main arteries, main arteries, the blood vessels are going out. They're pretty well plugged, getting plugged here, but they're really plugged here. How does it happen? What goes into our mouths, right? Oops. This one here, Cheryl, I need your help. Is she there? Oh, could you kindly help? If you play with your mouse, you're going to find that there's a little video there. Now, if you have a speaker somewhere, you could put it on, or else I'm going to just talk about it. I'm sorry, I should have warned you about this. Is it possible? Can it be done? Yeah, I think I have a couple more after this one, but this is very revealing. So, Let me tell you the story. This gentleman was going to have a coronary bypass whenever you come up, and the doctor there, he's really anesthesiologist. So the night before, he was going to draw the blood of this gentleman, and he drew his blood. And he says right away, he says, man, this blood is so full of fat. So he asked this patient, sir, what did you have before you came to the hospital? What do you think the answer was? Cheeseburger. So all that fat got absorbed, it goes straight into the blood. Okay. So if she can get to it, fine. I just told you the story. So if you want to be under the knife, keep on eating what if you are eating that stuff. So.
And I was seeing my patients for the next day's surgery for coronary artery bypass surgery in order to bypass clogged arteries in their
This
heart.
would be good if we could see it.
Because it was late at night, I drew the man's blood test, and when I took the blood to the laboratory and had it processed, I couldn't believe my eyes. Now normally this liquid layer floating on top of the blood clot is quite transparent. It's yellow, but quite clear. You can see right through it. The blood in this patient's tube, however, was anything but clear. The serum floating on his clot was thick and greasy white. It looked like glue. In fact, it stuck to the sides of the blood tube when I shook the tube. I went back to the patient. I said, Mr. Phillips, did you eat before you came? Woke up, so to speak, when I was working on the anesthesia service, learning how to put people to sleep. And I was seeing my patients for the next day's surgery for coronary artery bypass surgery in order to bypass clogged arteries in their heart. Because it was late at night, I drew the man's blood test, and when I took the blood to the laboratory and had it processed, I couldn't believe my eyes. Now normally, this liquid layer floating on top of the blood clot is quite transparent. It's yellow, but quite clear. You can see right through it. The blood in this patient's tube, however, was anything but clear. The serum floating on his clot was thick and greasy white. It looked like glue. In fact, it stuck to the sides of the blood tube when I shook the tube. I went back to the patient. I said, Mr. Phillips, did you eat before you came to the hospital tonight? He said, yes. I said, what did you have? He said, I had a cheeseburger and a milkshake. And when he said that, I realized that what I was looking at in his tube was all the fat in the beef burger, all the butter fat in the cheese, and the butter fat in the ice cream and in the milkshake. And all this fat had oozed out into his blood and actually turned his blood fatty. Well, 30, 40, 50 years of keeping your blood very fatty creates changes in the blood vessels that are very dangerous. Over the years, arteries can become clogged with fatty material. Then a blood clot can form, blocking the blood flow completely. If the artery leads to the heart, the lack of oxygen can cause heart muscle to die. That's a heart attack. If the clogged artery leads to the brain, the patient has a stroke. The next morning, we took Mr. Phillips to the operating room, and I put him to sleep, and the surgeon opened up his chest. And from these arteries, he began pulling out yellow, greasy deposits of fatty material called atherosclerosis.
Pretty sobering, huh? But that's what happens. And by the way, you want this, all of it is yours. Just go and talk with Cheryl. No, Mickey. I'm sorry. Sorry. All right. So what did he have? Cheeseburger. Okay. You may not be able to do it. You might. That's the same thing again. So, but to show you, these are capillaries, folk, and the blood. These are larger ones, but smaller ones. Just one red blood cell can barely go through. Okay. And what happens? Huh? Yeah. What happens is that when we eat fatty stuff, this cannot really, there you are, look at this. Normal blood flow before meal. Thank you. Normal blood flow. Pretty brisk. This is real, by the way. Blood sludging after a fatty meal. Look at this. Okay? That also makes us sleepy. Not enough blood going to the brain tissue, to the neurons. This one totally plugged up. It takes 10 hours. 10 hours to clear it up. Okay? Thank you. So, returns 10 hours after the meal. So, folk, when do we eat the heaviest meal? Thank you, in the morning. Great, great, yeah. But most people eat it in the evening, right? They'll have cheeseburger or pizza. It takes 10 hours. So when they wake up in the morning, they're not hungry. So you go to work with your gas tank empty or full. Our biggest meal should be breakfast. I eat like a hog in the morning. Then in the afternoon, evening, I eat 2 meals a day. On Sabbath, I eat 3. So 2 meals a day, that's all. You see, between 2 heartbeats, your heart gets total electrical, mechanical rest for 3/4 of a second. Depends on how 3/4 of the time between the 2 beats is totally resting. Total rest. Every moment of our lives, the heart is resting. When we eat constantly through the day, our stomach is not resting, our intestines are not resting, our pancreas is not resting, our liver is not resting. Why? So why do we eat? When we eat beef, it stays in our stomach 8 hours. So if you want to eat beef, eat it in the morning. So by the time you go to bed, the stomach is empty. Anyone knows these names? Ice skaters, Russian world champion, 4 times. Twice Olympic champion, 4 times world champion, okay? Sergei Grinkov and his wife, at the age of only 28, in 2005, I think, he was practicing Lake Placid with his wife on top of his head, going around the skating rink, practicing for an event. He dropped her, and he died on the spot. Now, exercise alone is not enough. That's all I'm driving at. This man was top of the world. There was hardly any fat in him. But whatever he ate was the wrong stuff. He died of a heart attack, 28 years old, as fit as can be. Just a thought. That's fact. Dean Ornish, wonderful man, he speaks in lifestyle medicine places. Harvard-trained physician study on a group of patients with coronary artery disease proven with cardiac angiogram. And then he put them on a low-fat vegetarian diet, regular exercise, stress modification. Stress. Very important. Stop smoking. After 1 year, angiogram was repeated. The results made medical history. Again, I've heard him speak. You see, what a man. In 82% of these patients, there was substantial improvement of atherosclerotic changes of the coronary arteries. If our arteries are blocked up, are we at the end of our lives? No. We can make changes and go back to normal life. Okay? So the choice is really truly ours. 82% of them changes. No angioplasty needed. Okay? Actually, and no open heart surgery. That's him, his wonderful family. In fact, he took patients who were waiting for heart transplant because they could not do any more angioplasty. They did all their heart muscles, the blood vessels could not be bypassed anymore. He took them. He says, change your lifestyle. And none of these folk had to have a heart transplant. None. None. Not one. This is fact. This is real. This is not a screwed up medical study. This is real stuff, folk. What a wonderful guy. And he's humble, very down to earth. Very down to earth. Study done on patients waiting for heart transplant right there. Severe coronary disease. These patients could not qualify for CABG, bypass surgery. Dr. Ornish did lifestyle medicine plan. After 1 year, some of these subjects improved so much that they no longer needed a heart transplant. Wow, isn't it? Wow. That same, you see his name, Dean Ornish, right there. Landmark Inter-heart study, Canadian scientists, 30,000 men and women, 52 countries, 6 continents, findings. 9 factors related to nutrition and lifestyle account for almost 95% of risk of heart disease, heart attack in men and women. These 9 factors: smoking, cholesterol level, hypertension, diabetes, obesity, diet, physical activity, alcohol consumption, psychological issues. Okay. How many of these can be controlled? All. All. Whose choice? Our choice, folk. Africa, sun going down. Yes. Okay. These are giraffes. What do they eat? Plants. You know, they eat, okay, acacia leaves. So when they eat, do they stand in one place and can finish that tree? No, they walk, they graze, and then they eat again, graze. Why? You see, again, the Creator created this beautiful pattern. When acacia leaves are eaten here, the tree realizes that danger is here. So the tree leaves quickly produce and release pheromone. It's a bitter stuff. See, so in no time these giraffes realize that their leaves are bitter. We are going to move over to the next tree. So they don't bore this tree. Wonderful, isn't it? Wonderful, wonderful. What's this? That's a tea plantation. If you are used to drinking green tea, that's really purest form of tannin and caffeine. You think twice. Tea has more caffeine per weight than coffee itself. Okay? Important. Why do people drink tea? Why is this flat on top? Darjeeling India, lot of tea, okay? The British loved India. One of the reasons why is the tea that you used to get from there. They take a stick and they go chuk, 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 all on the top and the sides. They're flat on the top, flat on the sides. What happens? So this was danger, right? There was a danger. There was, as it were, giraffes that were there. They don't cut them. You have to go like the animals does. It really crushes. So when that happens, the tree releases pheromone, okay? Releases caffeine in this case of the tea plant. And what kind of leaf in the tree will have more caffeine than other kind of leaves? What kind? The old ones or the little ones? The little ones that are growing, okay? They had loaded with caffeine. People have figured that out. So these ladies are there plucking on the tree, the bud and the two little leaves. That's what they're plucking. That's what they do the whole day. And then they process it, and then we drink that stuff. Pure caffeine in there. What is the coffee and tea? Caffeine is the number one used drug in the world. It's found mostly tea. Tea by weight has more caffeine than does coffee. Caffeine causes the release of the following hormones. Look at this one. The ones of you who have drank coffee, hopefully no one drinks here, before you start, you take your pulse, okay? After you drink the coffee, you check your pulse again. What has happened? It goes up. Why? The blood vessels constrict, and cortisol is released from your adrenal glands. This is a flight or fight kind of thing. You get the epinephrine and norepinephrine from the tea, and you also get cortisol. So if you're beating up your sister or your brother or whoever, okay, you are full of epinephrine and norepinephrine, okay. But then it also releases cortisol. In the event you get hurt, the body does the healing, okay. But do we need this stuff? No. All right? Those are the ones we just talked about. Caffeine is the number one used. The same thing. I'm sorry about this one. This is the human brain, okay? Fat, full of fat, lots of blood vessels in there. This is the real one. All right. This is ABC News. I have another little clip. Hopefully you folks can hear this. That's the last one, by the way. And I'm coming to an end.
Researchers at Wake Forest in North Carolina, where I underwent 2 MRI brain scans. This first scan with no caffeine in my system. Then I downed just 1 drink. Now my second MRI. This was my brain before caffeine. This was after. The difference was remarkable.
It's like a 40% drop in the blood flow to your brain. So that's a lot.
So before caffeine, with caffeine, the blood flow to my brain dropped
Went
about
down
40%.
40%.
Really?
Yeah.
You still like me? But this, the truth, is not my word. I'm just presenting it to you. There's a song, "In heaven there is no beer, that's why we drink it here." It's, all these are problemsome for human beings. Same with caffeine. Before, after. This is Moses again. If you listen carefully to the Lord your God and do what is right in your eyes, if you pay attention to his commands and keep all his decrees, I will not bring you any of the diseases I brought on the Egyptian pharaohs. Egyptian pharaohs, for I am the Lord who heals you. Heals you. Okay, every day Egyptians did not, they ate mostly bread and flatbread. My mouth waters, chapati. Okay, but the pharaohs ate all the meats you could think about. I call heaven and earth today, record this day against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessings and curse. Therefore choose life, that both you and your seed may live. Again, Prophet Moses. Do you know that your body is the temple of the Creator, and the Spirit of Creator dwells in you? If anyone defiles this temple of the Creator will destroy him, for the temple of the Creator is holy, which temple you are. This is Injil Kitab. The Muslims believe in the Injil Kitab. Okay? That's the New Testament. Last few slides. The village well got polluted. Okay, the village fathers got together for a meeting how to take care of these problems. They said, well, we have to have a research center. We've got to have ambulances to get the sick ones to the hospital. So they built hospital beds as well. But no one cleaned up the well. The problem is that we need to clean up the well, not make more and more drugs. Thank you. We're all treating the symptoms in the hospitals. We're not going to the cause. But we Seventh-day Adventists have been given the information to go to the cause. That is your and my task. Blessed Sabbath. Oh no, I memorized this presentation, so I cannot answer you anything. Okay, go. Good question. Before that, though, let me tell the story that I shared last night. The ones who might want to share this, you can have it. All the three presentations. I shared this last night, and there are some new ones of you here. Albert Einstein, know that name? Okay, Albert Einstein, theory of relativity or energy, E equal to mc square. No one knew him. He, I think, taught at Temple University somewhere in Philadelphia. So the articles come up in the newspaper, and he's dyslexic. He cannot drive. So his driver takes him to this university, that college, this place, that place, night after night. One day the driver says, hey, Prof, I can do what you do. I can present that, what you're presenting. I can do this. Oh, fine. Tonight I'm going to do it. So the driver goes up in front. Okay? The prof is sitting at the back. He makes a flawless presentation. Of course, at the end of the presentation, hands go up. Got a question. This fella, the driver, says, you know, this question is so basic that even my driver can answer you the question. He goes and sits down. Albert Einstein goes up in front. He answers the questions. Why I say this is that if you folk want to go over this again and again, research it, you can get a master's degree or doctorate. You can become a physician almost, or have at least the knowledge of it. One could build an atom bomb probably, or going to the internet. Everything is there. Everything is in the internet. Okay? We can touch the lives of humanity, or we can destroy it going to the internet. So you go through this, you choose and you study on it, and you make flawless presentations and also know the reason behind what we're talking about. So That way you could. Um, Migraine headache. The problem is that the blood vessels in the brain open up and allow the fluid, the serum plasma to ooze through and go into the tissue, increasing the pressure, okay, within the brain, translates into migraine headache. So if you took the caffeine at the right time, what does it do? Constricts the blood vessel. No more fluid can go out and cause this massive headache. So, and if you folk, again, if that's your problem, do it. But don't need to do it all the time. Need to do it the moment you feel it coming, take it. So, oh, absolutely, take the baby aspirin no matter what you do. Luckily, I knew this answer, so I'm safe. So, yes.
You know the whey that they put in the protein drinks? What's
You want my opinion or you want the fact? Of course, I'm just teasing you. So, okay, the fact is, question comes up, folk. I'm sorry, you're fine now. How much protein do we need per day? So, if I'm just going to guess, maybe you weigh about 60 kg. Let's call it 60 kilogram. One kilogram is 2.2 pounds. How much protein do you need? Less than 60 grams. Less than 60 grams. That's all the protein you need per day. There you are. That's less than 2 ounces.
because there's
30, yeah.
31.103
Wow.
grams
Grams per
Troy.
truck.
Now, a U.S. ounce is going to be about 28 grams. So you got a double
Clip.
scale
Right.
on ounce that you need to look at.
Right. That's all. We need very little protein. Actually, we need 0.8 gram per kilogram body weight per day, even less than a gram. There are 20 amino acids that our human body is made of. 8 of them is essential. We need it from outside. The other 12, our bodies can make it from sugar. We're fearfully and wonderfully made. Where do we get it from? We can get it from fruits, nuts, and grains. Look, we take too much protein and too much fat. Okay? Now, may not like this. You ever heard of Atkins diet? Atkins diet? You did? Atkins diet. Atkins diet. You know what the man, he was a doctor, you know what he died of? He died of a heart attack. Okay, so this was kept from the public, but his private physician knew about it. He fell. The thing is, he fell, hit his head, and he bled in his brain. So he says, no. He died of a stroke died of hitting his head, bleeding in the brain. That's not true. So the family sued this doctor because they didn't want to lose the money. Now, folk, some of you are not going to like it, but there's a craze right now in the world, in this country. It's big, ketogenic diet. Keto diet, you're hurting yourself badly. The studies are going to come up in no time. In no time. I showed you what happens to the pancreas. You see, ketones, there's butyric, there are 3 kinds of ketones: acetone, beta-butyric acid, and aldactone. But anyways, you see, this bypasses the citric acid cycle. The ones of you, if you had biochemistry, That's the normal cycle. The output of energy 38 versus 2 in anaerobic cycle. Okay? No, there is no cycle, in fact, in anaerobic. So we're hurting ourselves badly by getting into this. Studies are going to come up in no time. We are not doing how our bodies were created. How much fat do we need per day? 2 tablespoonfuls of any origin. That's all we need per day. You know, when I was in training or even in the hospital, I'm working in the ER, and I could get by saying anything I wanted to because the lives of folk are in my hand. And someone will come and says, "I don't hear well." I'll turn to the wife and say, "Stop shouting at him," and to just have some fun because these are tense times. So I'll tell them, the ones who are really truly obese. I mean, in training, we did nothing but turning the stomach this size. And then after the surgery, Dr. Lechner and I would go see the patients and says, you don't need a 16-ounce steak. All you need is 4 ounces. It's not how much we eat. But he's saying this after that trauma has been done. You see, we need to do that. We used to operate on 500, 600 pounders. That's not the way to lose weight. So I tell the patients, put a zipper on your lips. Yeah, it's really, truly, we make up our mind. We can eat good stuff, but too much of good stuff.
Just thinking about, for myself, I'm finding now that even 2 slices of bread puts on weight.
I eat 1 slice. I eat 2 meals a day and 1 slice. That's all. Yes, 110 calories, depends on whatever, Eat really, truly. I mean, at home I walk an hour and 15 minutes. I could not do that for 30 years because of the crazy life I lived. And then I'd get an elliptical machine and I would get on for and burn another 750 calories. I'm 5'7" and I weigh 129, 30 pounds. I still have problems myself, so we have to be very choosy in what goes into our mouths. Yes?
Well, I swim a mile and I work out
Beautiful.
now.
Beautiful.
So I'm feeling pretty good in my weight. But if you go to a doctor and they check your cholesterol, you find out you get the sticky cholesterol that you don't know.
LDL.
Losartan is a statin. So what is your
Take on statin drugs.
the statins? Because the statins will actually work, but then you're on the statin.
People still die of heart attacks. The ones who have normal cholesterol without even taking any statin drugs. Longitudinal studies have shown statin drugs in longitudinal study have no benefit. Now don't tell your doctor and say, this crazy guy I listen to and all, I'm into trouble. But this is the truth. Number 1. Number 2, when you go to the nursing homes. Oh, by the way, Alzheimer's. I'm glad you brought this up, by the way.
Can I make a comment too?
I might forget what you just said. No, just kidding. Go.